That's really hard to say. It happened really early. It happened quite young. The first story that I remember writing, I was about 7 years old. And I was down in the cellar, and there was this big old Underwood manual typewriter. And, you know, I don't know, I stuck a piece of paper in it, and I began tapping. And I wrote this story, it was a page and a half long, about this dragon named Herman, who apparently was suffering some existential identity crisis because he didn't want to be a dragon. The first two sentences, this is all I remember, is that Herman was a dragon, but he didn't want to be one. He wanted to be a knight. And that's all I got. That's all I remember. But I wrote it, and I brought it upstairs, and I showed it to my grandmother, and she read it out loud and thought it was really funny. She was from the Bronx. She had this really strong accent, and she read it out, and she just laughed and laughed. And I was like, okay, but it's not supposed to be funny, you know? But she's laughing and laughing. So I guess that was a big encouragement to me, and I went and did that, you know, and I wrote stuff, and I showed her, and I showed people in my family, and everybody said, oh, this is great. This is great, Dave. Okay. So that's how I got started. But I mean, where that impulse comes from, I don't really know. See, that's a hard question to answer. Because I'm always satisfied with everything at the moment, and then later I think, this sucks. So it's taken a long time. I kept writing in high school and stuff. I wrote all these stories about, like, after the nuclear holocaust and so on. Great stuff. And then I went, excuse me, I went to college at Oberlin, and I got a undergrad degree in creative writing. But I didn't really know what I was doing because, I mean, I've been writing stories, yes, about dragons and nuclear holocaust, and then I got to college, and there are all these, like, everybody's writing Ray Carver, you know, and, you know, I recognized that he was good, kind of, but I wasn't really sure why, and I wasn't sure why I was sort of being railroaded into trying to write this way. I mean, this was the kind of early to mid-'80s minimalist stuff was all the rage at the time. I can't remember who else. Ray Carver, Mary Robeson, Amy Hempel came later, Susan Minot, oh my God. Stuff like that, you know. Ray Carver's great. So anyway, after I got out of college and I was trying to write these 6-page stories in which, you know, the gesture was like who gave the salt to who at the dinner table or something, and that had great meaning. But I never really felt comfortable with it. So then I went to grad school, and I sort of kept doing some of this. And but I was beginning to discover other writers who were just sort of, who were doing more linguistically, like T.C. Boyle, and I'm blanking out. Okay, like T.C. Boyle, for example. And I wrote a book of stories that I thought was pretty good. I was actually pretty satisfied with that, but nobody else was. And then I wrote a novel, which I liked, but nobody else did. And then I wrote another novel, and then I wrote another novel. And then I wrote another novel that I thought was really pretty good, actually.